Alright, well, we're going into the last 4 laps of the Alviso training practice race. Kind of an overcast, smoky, but not very hot day. It was actually really nice. It felt, I don't know, it's like low 80s. We were expecting it to be almost triple digits. It's supposed to be pretty warm, but it ended up being a nice day. Right now there are a break of 2 up the road, which is Andrew Adelman and a guy named Nick. I'm not sure of Nick's last name, but he's the 18-year-old young stud that rolled up the road with Andrew. So the group here is in the process of chasing them back. Been a pretty active and aggressive group, honestly. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of let up. The whole race was just filled with attacks. There wasn't too much bunch up, which I was pretty impressed because there wasn't a lot of team dynamics going on. It was just a lot of guys just wanting to go hard. You got Perry right there, Ben Cotta. That's Super Dave Kasel, national champion, 45-49. He got his national championship in Colorado by going off in a break with Scott Giles, who, anybody that's from NorCal knows Scott. He's just a monster. So that's a danger move. These guys are trying to bridge up to the 2-man break that's up the road, and hey, that's the race going up the road right there, so I'm not going to let that happen. So we quickly jump on that and close it down. Now, the reason we didn't chase down the break right away was, well, because it was a guy that we rode with out to the race, Andrew. It's also a former teammate and friend, so I mean, yeah, we came here to race our bikes, but I'm not going to do all the work for these guys. I mean, there's plenty of people willing to put the effort into chase them down, so I'm going to roll up to Dave, because he's just off to the races here. This is a headwind section. The wind was coming from on the course up above. It would have been coming from, I guess that would have been from the north to the south. I don't know what the direction is actually on this, but so this section right here, the wind was coming from our left shoulder, so we didn't have the usual tailwind finish that Alviso has. This finish here is usually really fast. From watching Jeff Linder's videos, they're usually always hitting 30, 34, 33 in this stretch, and most of the time we were doing 28, 29, maybe 30 once in a while. It was a pretty stiff wind. And oh, this car almost came out. Good thing he stopped. That could have been ugly. So we're going into 3 laps to go here. There goes Perry. He's going to close that gap. I was trying to keep him. I was just trying to keep the pace up. Not trying to burn too many matches. I was kind of hoping it would come down to a sprint. As we come around the corner here, you can actually see the breakaway right in front of us. And there was a third guy up in the break too, and he ends up coming off the back after we go through this second turn here. These guys were moving pretty good. There wasn't a lot of lulls, which was kind of nice. That fan, that was 30 seconds later. That would have been ugly. This is kind of a blind corner. There's Jerome, my buddy Jerome. I rode over with him from Los Altos at the bike shop there. We rode over with Andrew, who's up the road in the break. We kind of we're hoping it would come down to a sprint because we're both sprinters and that's just what we like to do. But we were also looking to get into a breakaway, and once we saw Dave Casel here, we knew that unless he was in the break, nothing was probably going to stick. But we were wrong. Andrew and Nick were off to the races, and it was difficult to bring them back. You'll see what happens in the last lap, but it ends up being kind of a not so good thing for Andrew and Nick. They sprinted a lap early, thinking that that's the problem when there's no lap cards and you're going off time. If everybody's looking at a different time when to start the laps, it gets a little confusing. So it wasn't as confusing for us in the pack because people were yelling out 2 to go, 3 to go, you know, for example. But I don't think Andrew and Nick knew that, so they actually sprinted out their race a lap early. Sucks for them though. We're going for it right here. So we're actually going into bell lap right now. You can see the break right in front of us there. So Perry's going to try to go across. You don't think he doesn't quite make it, but just trying to keep the pace high, just keep them close. Because I know there's 2 laps to go. You know, we're a lap and a half for us. Still a long ways, so there's no sense in burning up and blowing yourself up to bring them back that quick. We got all these people behind us. So there's the third guy in the breakaway, just dropped off to the left there. And the 2, Andrew and Nick, just keep it going. There goes Jerome pulling through. He smells the blood. Kudos to Andrew and Nick though. They did a good job. They never eased up. They kept the pace on, kept the pressure on us. Made us all work hard to bring it back. We had to burn a lot of matches. Dave's gonna go flying past us right here and bridge up. Attempt to bridge up. He actually does bridge up. So that's a hard attack right there. And I was like, oh, ooh, okay. If he gets up there, that's game over. So my idea right now is hoping these guys start to pick up the pace, which they really don't. They pick it up a little bit, but not enough to close the gap. So as soon as we come out of this next turn into the crosswind section, I'm going to take Jerome with me and we're going to go across to the break. Hopefully catch them. The idea was that we catch them on the last lap, and then the 5 of us will roll off into the sunset and live happily ever after. It doesn't quite work out that way, unfortunately. So I'm kind of communicating with Jerome. I'm letting him letting him know by tapping my butt that I'm gonna go. So he's gonna follow me. So I launch about right here. I can see the brake, and I can see Dave right in front of us, so I've got to close this and catch him on the last lap. As you can see, I'm doing a pretty hard dig here into this crosswind. I look back and it's just Jerome with me, so it's just the two of us, so I'm thinking we're golden. But what I didn't realize was that Andrew and Nick just sprinted right here for their lap. They thought the race was over, so Andrew's putting his hands up right now saying, "What?" And we just roll right by him. And Dave knows that the race isn't over, so he's still going, but he got left out hanging out to dry. So after my hard pull, thinking that I was going to roll up to this brake and then have a nice smooth brake to work with, I get counterattacked by everybody. So I'm digging. Luckily they slowed down right here, and then they attack again, so I've got to kind of get on the gas a little bit. But I'm like struggling to catch my breath right here because that effort took a lot out of me. Luckily, they're not going too hard right here. And then as we come up to this right-hand turn, you're going to see a car just stopped in the middle of the road, and everybody stops for it and just kind of regroups. That car doesn't know what to do because we're getting swarmed by a bunch of bikes. So now I get a chance to catch my breath, which is kind of nice because I was kind of struggling at this point. I thought I was just going to be riding in the middle of the pack and into the finish. So I went all in on that chase. But luckily they slowed down, so I got to. So now that I'm catching my breath, I'm starting to feel better. I'm thinking, all right, well, now I got to get ready for the sprint. So I'm starting to look for the players. Looking at Super Dave. I'm looking for Jerome. Those are the guys that are going to be, I don't know a lot of these other guys, so I'm not sure who the punchy sprinters are. So I know Jerome, so I want to stay near Jerome because I know his riding style. We're very similar in how we race. I got to get past these two guys here. I'm sure moving pretty good, 30 miles an hour into a headwind here, coming into the final two turns. So. And there goes Ben. Ben's going to take a nice dig into the last corner and try to slip away, which is a really smart move because everybody's kind of hesitating at the front a little bit. And Jerome almost crashes into the guy in front of him, and I missed it. So I'm just going to stay on Jerome's wheel because I know he's going to launch, and he's going to go around this guy who's fading. He's going to jump onto Ben's wheel, take a couple pedal strokes, and then sprint around him. Ben's sat up, he's done. So I'm on Jerome's wheel, and I look behind me, and there's no one behind. It's just us two. So I'm just kind of sitting. Normally this would be like the sweet, perfect draft. I would sit here till about right now, and then I would launch off him. So that's what I do, except I just completely run out of gas. So Jerome takes it. I get second. Well-deserved win by Jerome. He was definitely the stronger today. I just didn't have enough juice to come around him. Anyways, thanks. Had a great time. I'll see you at the next one.